Okay. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Welcome to the
Hi, everyone.
welcome to the first edition of TestMu. We are very delighted to host everyone here today, and this is going to be very special edition for us. And I believe this is going to be special for you guys as well. My name is Vipul. I am going to be your host for this session. And before we start this session, let me thanks all our partners for supporting us and being a part of this event. For the record, this session will be recorded and will be shared on the YouTube later on. And we encourage all of you to go and check your booth as well from the reception if you wish to connect with them later. So, without any further ado, let me introduce the speaker of this session, Jecelyn Yeen. Jecelyn is a developer advocate in Google working on Chrome DevTools. Her work mainly focuses on developer tooling ecosystem. Today, she's going to talk about how to improve user experience by creating automation test script with no code using the Chrome Dev tool. So now I hand it over to Jecelyn to take it forward. Jecelyn.
Thank you, Vipul. Thanks for the conference for inviting me. I'm really glad to be here. So today I will share about the two initiatives that the Chrome team is working on in improving the web automation experience. The first part of the talk will focus on the end-to-end user flow automations with the DevTools Recorder panel. I see a lot of you reply in the pool that you haven't heard about it before, and some of you had heard about it, which is good. I will share about I will give you an introduction and share some updates on what we have done on that part. And the second part of the talk, I will touch on another initiative that we are working on, which is Web Driver BiDi, an initiative to improve the cross-browser testing experience. Okay, one of the top developer pain points that we constantly receive from the developer is that end-to-end testing is hard. It is pain, especially for the beginners. The amount of setup you need to automate a user flow. For example, if you want to automate adding an item to the cart, it would be quite massive and discouraging because you need to set up the browser correctly, you need to set up your environment, install libraries, and all the other setup that you need to go through. So then we are thinking like, how can we empower you to build quality websites by helping you to get started in doing end-to-end tests? So that's the reason we built a new panel, which is the Chrome DevTools Recorder panel, allow you to record, replay, and measure your user flow. It is a developer preview features, which means the team is still currently working on it. And let us know your feedback if you have tried it out. Okay, let's do a demo now. Let me stop my sharing and start to share another screen. Um, the okay, so in my this is my browser, Chrome browser. I have opened the DevTools panel. To open the recorder panel, you can click on the three dot menu, more tools, recorder panel, and from here you can see that the recorder panel show up. What you can do here is show you that these instructions, and if you want to learn more, you can click on the video and the documentations here to learn more. But from here, we can start a new recording. Give your recording a name, or you can use the default name as well. So, but I will just call it order a coffee, and I will start the recording. On our page, this is a page that we want to order a coffee. So what we'll do is we'll add an item to the cart and then click on checkout and then fill in a payment form and submit the form. So this is what we'll do. You can see that the recorder show you that the currently is already start recording. So what I will do here, I will click on the cappuccino item you can see that the actions is automatically captured here. Then I will scroll down, click on an Americano. The next thing is I will click on the total here to check out the item, fill in the name, fill in my address, click on receive the updates, and submit it. So once I complete the whole flow, I can click on stop recording, and you can see that all the steps are recorded here. So what I can do here is, if mistakenly I click on cappuccino, I can edit the step. So for example, if I supposed to click on latte, for example, instead of cappuccino, what I can do here, I can edit the selector to put in cafe latte and other stuff. But even easier way is you can use this selector pickle, click on it, and click on the cafe latte here, and then it will update your selector automatically. When DevTools Recorder recording your actions, it will automatically detect the best selector for you for your test, the unique one, so that you don't need to worry. If you think that you have an even better selector, you can edit it later after the recording. So once you complete the recording, what you can do here is you can click on replay to replay the whole user flow again. Another thing you can do here is you can click on the measure performance. There's two ways for you to measure performance. One is that you can use the performance insights panel, another new panel, to measure the performance. Click here, it will run the user flow, measure it, and then open the performance insight panel to tell you that what are the page load performance here. Another way is you can use the performance panel. It will do the same thing, run the user flow, and then record it, show the whole user flow performance in the performance panel, which is very handy. Okay, so this is a really quick overview of the recorder panel. So you can record more user flow. It will show up in this list here. So if you come here, you can see that how many user flow, this here will show up the list of your user flow. Okay, let me stop sharing and go back to our presentation. Share the screen again. Okay, so we have launched this recorder panel for a few months since now, and we received most of the comment, and you say that this is a really great features and you really like it. But there are something that you wish to see, the new features that you wish to see in the panel as well. So among the feedback, the features requests, we have identified 5 top requests that you have made. And guess what? We already built in this top 5 feature requests, even with some extra goodies. Let's go through them one by one. The first feature request is you want to be able to set a longer timeout between steps. So probably you have some step which take a really long time to run, like some animations. You need to wait for all the animation complete before you click on some button or proceed to another actions. You want to be able to set a longer timeout. Previously, the recorder panel doesn't have these options for you to set a longer timeout. But now you can set a longer timeout globally for all the steps. So by default, each of the steps have 5 minutes time, 5 seconds times up, which is 5,000 milliseconds. So you set it from here. If you want to override it, just change the value to 10,000 or 20,000 for 10 seconds. You can do that. Or if you just want to override, if you know that a particular step take a slightly longer time to run, you can also specify the timeout for just a particular step instead of globally for every step. Another feature request is you mentioned that you want to be able to specify a custom selector for the recording. Just now, as I show you, the recorder will automatically detect the best selector for the actions that you have performed. But there are times that you might have your custom selector in place. For example, data-QA, you have set it. So what the recorder now support is that it will automatically prefer this common test selector on the screen. For example, data test ID, data CY for the Cypress test. If you have specified that, we will automatically detect it and automatically prefer that as your default selector. So for example, just now data test is one of the common selector. Our test just now, it automatically data test as using that as the selector instead of using the ID or the CSS class. And even better, you can define your own custom selector during the start of the recording. For example, in this case, I am defining a data-automation selector because I have a test with using the data-automations to perform the test. So the next thing, when I start the recording, when I click on one of the item, if you see that zoom in, it's actually detect data-automations espresso as the preferred selector. So you can specify that for your custom selector. And the next thing is, did you realize just now when I replay the user flow, the replay is really too fast? You can't even look at the screen and then look at the step by step that the replay is actually running. It's hard for you to visualize that. So one of the feedback that we receive is you want to be able to replay the recording at a slower speed, just like the slot meme just now. The good news is we have we make it available. Now you can replay the recording at a really slow speed. We have 3 options for you: slow, very slow, or extremely slow. So you can test on it. Probably let me show you here on the let me share my screen again. Just share my entire screen. Okay, so from the replay here, there's a drop down button. You can click on it and then it will show you slow, very slow, or extremely slow. Let's click on very slow to see how slow it is. If I click on very slow, now you see that it's click on latte, Americano, proceed to checkout. And when it fill up the form, it's actually kind of slow down. You can see that it is fill up the form step by step and it is not too fast. And if you still think that it's too fast, what you can do is you can run it in an extremely slow pace so you can see it even better on the replay on the screen. Okay, it is a bit too slow for the presentation. So what you can do is you can click on cancel replay if you think that the replay, you don't want to continue the replay. So this is what I will do now. Okay. And the next feature request is that you want to have even more control. You don't want to just slowly replay the user flow. You want to be able to control the replay, step through it, and replay probably until step number 2 or step number 5 that you specify. The good news is now you can set the breakpoint and replay the user flow one step at a time. So let me show you how to do this. So on our recording here, there is a blue dot on each of the steps. So what you can do here, you can set a breakpoint by clicking on the blue dot. So what I will do here is I will set a breakpoint at proceed to checkout this step. So let's set a breakpoint and then I will just start a normal replay. The replay, once it start, it will stop at the step that we set the breakpoint, which is click on the proceed checkout. So when you set a breakpoint here, the proceed checkout step will not be executed until you command it to do so. So what we can do here, we can resume the whole user flow to continue the rest of the flow. Or what we can do here, we can click on this button here to execute the user flow step by step, so that I can control and debug what happens on the screen. So let me click on one step. See that it's open the proceed to checkout. And then the next step is click on the name. I will still proceed one step. And then the next step is change the name attribute. Then you see that it's entering. And then another key down, a tab. And then in the email, we'll start typing and change the email value. So once you finish debugging here, what you can do is you can cancel the replay, or you just click continue to execute the rest of the flow. Very convenient. And now feature number 5 that you requested is that you want to be able to share the user flow with your peers, with your colleagues, with your friends easily. So a good news is at the beginning of our when we launch the features, we only support export the user flow as a Puppeteer script. Puppeteer script is a JavaScript, so it might not be convenient for you to share with your friends if your friend doesn't know about JavaScript, doesn't know about Puppeteer. So what we add 2 more options for you to export it. One is to export it as a JSON file. So it's a text file. You can see that what are the steps happens on the screen. And the other options is export it as a Puppeteer replay script. I will cover the Puppeteer replay script in slightly later, but let's talk about the JSON file first. So what I can do here is I can download it, export it as a JSON file, click on it here in the document. I will save it as order a coffee JSON. And what you can do next here is you can just delete it. Or if you think that this user flow you want to share with your peers so that they can automate their user flow as well, what you can do is you send the file to them, and what they can do is they can click on this import button here and select the JSON file that you have just now. Click on it, and you see that the user flow is populated, and your friends can replay the user flow just like you do. Very convenient. Okay. So combining these export and import features, if you think about it, it could be a really powerful combination for bug reporting. Me, myself, have reporting some of the bug to the DevTools team by exporting a user flow and then ask the team to debug certain issues. So this is something that I've already been doing, using the recorder features to report a bug. And there are still more features requests coming from you, and you mentioned that it's great, but do we support you already have your favorite test framework? Can we support probably export the user flow to your favorite test script? Probably. And the good news is, yes, with the Chrome extension now, you are able to export the user flow to your favorite test format. So take, for example, Cypress is a famous modern front-end testing framework. So what you can do is you can have an options to export the test as a Cypress test script. So once you install the extension, you will see this option showing up, export as Cypress test script on the screen. And once you click that, so for example, in this case here, I have a workflow that navigate to the coffee cup page, click on the espresso macchiato, and click on the mocha item. So once I export it, what I will see here is it will generate a Cypress test script with a proper test format, and it will set the viewport to the size that we have set, 360, if you look at here, the size, and it will navigate to the page, and then it will click on, you get the item and click on it, and you get the mocha and click on it. So it's kind of map step by step and generate the test script for you, which is really good. Another extensions that the web page test have open source is the web page test recorder extensions. So web page test is a website to help you test your website performance and your real user experience by using modern devices and browsers. So after you install the extension, the same, you can see the export as web page test custom script appear on the screen. So once you export the script, what you can do here is you can go to the web page test website and then enable the advanced configuration sections. in the script sections, you copy and paste your script here, the script that you exported here, and you click Start Testing. And it will, based on this step here, to generate a full performance report for your websites, which is really convenient. So you can set the test locations to the locations that you want to test, and then select the browser that you want to test. There are even more extensions. Just now in the chat, I see that someone is using WebDriver.io, someone is using Nightwatch as your end-to-end test libraries. The good news is you can export the user flow to a Nightwatch formats, testing library plus Jest format, or the WebDriver.io format. And more is coming soon. And if you wonder how to build an extensions, in fact, anyone can build an extensions. We open source a Chrome DevTools Recorder API for the Chrome extensions. So if you want to build an extensions, what you need to do is you need to extend this. You need to implement this Stringify and this Stringify step functions in your plugin, in your extension. And then once you do that, so once after you define your step, what you can do here is you can register your Recorder extension plugin, give it a name. So what is your plugin name? Like export to what script, like for example, Selenium or other test script, and what are the format that you want to export. You want to export it as a JavaScript, you want to export it as JSON, or what kind of format that you want to export it to. We have an extensive example here to help you if you want to build an extensions. Alternatively, you can refer to some of the existing Recorder extensions that already published, and to see how they build extensions and learn to build one yourself if you are keen to build one. And how about export programmatically? So you might have a user flow. You might have probably 10 JSON file, and probably you want to export them to a different format programmatically instead of clicking them one by one in the Recorder panel UI. So, for example, Cypress have open source library as well called Cypress Chrome Recorder. What you can do here, you can use npm. Once you install Node.js, you can use npm to install the Cypress Chrome Recorder. And then from there, you can convert the JSON file that you exported from the Recorder panel by using a CLI command, just a line of command to convert one of the user flow. Or if you want to convert all the user flow in bulk, for example, you might have 3 or 4 recordings, user flow in the recordings folder, you can also convert all at once. Let me show you a demo on this. So this is the standard Cypress project. So in this Cypress project here, I have a recording folder which contains 3 of the recording here. What I can do here in my terminal, I can run npm Cypress Chrome Recorder and say that I want to convert all the recording JSON file in this folder to Cypress test script. Once I run it, it will show you the result running one by one and what are the file that is generated. And you can see here, this is default by Cypress. It will generate the JSON file, generate the file into a end-to-end test folder. And then you can see that it generates all the steps nicely here. The next thing you can do here is you can open npm Cypress open. You can open Cypress here and execute the test with Cypress. Let's click on the end-to-end testing. So this is the Cypress browser. What we can do here is we can select what are the which are the browser that we want to run. There are many options here. You can run in Chrome, or if you want to test in other browsers like Firefox, you can do that as well. Let's click on the Firefox browser and click Start End-to-End Testing in Firefox. Once you click on that, if you open up a Cypress, the end-to-end test that just now we have converted here. So what you can do here, I can click on the order a coffee to execute the spec in Firefox. And then you can check the test result, which is pretty amazing. Imagine like you record a test using Chrome, but you can run it with export it to Cypress and run it in Firefox browser. Okay, let me stop it. Okay, and good news is most of the extensions actually come with a CLI, come with a command like we showed just now, like Cypress. For example, the Night Watch have a Chrome Recorder library as well, which you can install. You can go to this link here to learn more about it. WebDriver.io has a Chrome Recorder library as well. You can install that to convert your user flow in bulk as well. And the same, more CLI will be coming soon. And still it's all good. And some people still questions that, how about automate the replay and the executions? You might want to integrate your user flow in your CI/CD pipeline. You might want to schedule it, run it every day to make sure that your end-to-end user flows actually run correctly. So the good news is you can do this by using the Puppeteer replay to do it. So the Puppeteer replay is a library that we open source in order for you to replay your JSON user flow. What you can do here, you can run npm install Puppeteer replay and save it, and also npm install Puppeteer. So once you install that, the next thing you can do here is you can replay one of the user flow, or you can replay multiple user flow at once. So by using Puppeteer replay this CLI, you can, during your CI/CD process, you can hook it up and then schedule it to run daily or run weekly on each of the changes that you have made. And if you don't want, there are times when you want to run your test using different browser versions as well. So Source Lab is a cloud testing platform. So what you can do here is you can use Source Lab, actually support Puppeteer replay as well. So you can run the JSON user flow in bulk with the in Source Lab. So what you can do here, you can click, you can create a Source Lab configuration file, set the 𝒂𝒐 to Puppeteer replay, and then put in all your what are the recordings that you want to run, put in all in the config file. Once you did that, you need to install a source CTL libraries and configure it, set login, set the API key. Once you have done that, you can run the source CTL run command to run the user flow on the cloud. So you can specify different Chrome versions or different Firefox version in order to run in Source Lab. It is possible. We have a talk earlier with Source Lab. I have a webinar earlier. So if you want to know in details how to run it with the Source Lab, you can watch the video to learn how. And Test Cafe is another testing framework. So what you can do here, you can also use the Test Cafe to replay the user flow. What you need to do here is a library. You need to npm install Test Cafe, and then you can run a command Test Cafe or pass in the user flow and run it with all the browsers at once. If you want to just run it with, for example, Safari browser, what you can do here, you can run the Test Cafe Safari userflow.json command to run in Safari, or just run Test Cafe Firefox to run in the user flow in the Firefox browser. Very convenient. And do you know that all these libraries are possible because they are powered by the Puppeteer replay library? So just now I have mentioned that the Puppeteer replay is an API, is an CLI for you to replay a JSON file with a line of command. This is something that we have shown just now. But Puppeteer Replace is also a library. It provides API for you to extend and customize your replay. For example, Source Left just now utilized the Puppeteer Replay library to customize the replay on their cloud. And 𝒃𝒐𝒏𝒄𝒆, a visual testing tools, have written an articles to talk about how you can use, how you can customize the replay to capture the screenshot and do visual testing. You can click on the link later after I share the slide to learn about them more. And you can also use the library to transform the user flow, to convert the user flow into others format. That's what Cypress and the WebDriver IO use the Puppeteer Replay library for. So let me give you an example. What you can, so let's say you want to be able to capture a screenshot after you execute every step. So what you can do here is you can use the Puppeteer, download the Puppeteer Replay library, extend the Puppeteer Runner extensions, and mention that after each of the step, you want to be able to take a screenshot and save it to a certain path. So this is one of the ways that you can extend the Puppeteer Replay to run your JSON user flow. Another way to extend this is to transform the user flow to another format. Puppeteer Replace have a stringify extension for you to extend. So for example, Cypress actually extend these stringify extensions to stringify each of the step. So for example, when it detects that the step is called navigate step, what it do is it will map this step to transform the script and output it as cy.visit to navigate to a certain page. And we really love your feedback with the recorder functions, recorder panel extensions, and the Puppeteer Replay library. We wish to lower the barrier of end-to-end testing and let you get started with your end-to-end testing journey easier. And next, how about cross-browser testing? When we talk about end-to-end testing, we usually talk about cross-browser testing as well. As I mentioned, as we showed just now, when you export the recorder JSON file, you can export it to others like Cypress or Testcafe, and then you can run it with different browser itself. One of the top developer pain point that we heard from developers is about cross-browser testing. Let's face it, you have been to be able to execute cross-browser testing on different browser. Sometimes it takes a bit of luck because it depends on a lot of variable. Maybe some of the tests you are able to do in just a certain browser, but you are not able to execute it in another browsers, or the results show up incorrectly. And today, let me first show you how the browser automation work behind the scenes, and then we'll talk about what are the improvements that we try to do it here. So this is a test engineer, which is us. We try to write, and what we want to do is very simple. We want to write an automated test to run it in different browsers. Run it is Chromium-based browser, Firefox, Safari, or other browser. But what actually happens under the hood is not that simple. So this is you again, and this is the browsers that we want to be able to run our script. So what we do here is, usually we'll start with writing the script by using a certain automation libraries like Selenium, Nightwatch, or WebDriver IO. And what this automation library will do under the hood is it will use the WebDriver protocol to talk to the WebDriver. So each of the browser will release a driver for each of the browser release. So for example, we have Chrome driver, we have Gecko driver, we have Safari driver, and Edge driver. There are these different drivers, which this automation library will use them, will talk to them by using the WebDriver protocol. And then these WebDrivers will translate our command and try to control the browsers, try to tell the browser what to do to execute your step via HTTP. And this is just one of the way. There's another way to do browser automations as well. So imagine this is you. If you just want to automate the Chromium-based browser, what you can do here, so for example, if you're writing your test using Puppeteer, what Puppeteer do is it will translate your command and to CDP command, Chrome DevTools protocol command, and use that to control the browsers bi-directionally via WebSocket and pipes. So this is another popular way of controlling the browsers. And if you think of it, probably you are not using Puppeteer and you don't, and you think that probably you don't use CDP. But the fact is, there's a lot of, if you look at the your automation testing framework, more or less you will see that there might be some of the feature that mentioned is a Chromium only features. So for all these features, usually what they do under the hood is they will use CDP to achieve the same. So some of the automation library that use CDP under the hood for some of the Chromium only features is Playwright, Selenium, Cypress, and Testcafe. They use CDP in some part of the automation process. And surprise, if you are using Chrome driver, when you are using WebDriver, the Chrome driver is also using CDP under the hood. And why CDP? Because CDP, why there are some only Chromium only features, because CDP actually offer low-level controls compared to WebDriver. So for example, by using CDP, we can simulate the device mode so that you can click and select different device. You can use CDP to simulate geolocations, and you can use CDP to intercept the network requests. Also, you can use CDP to get console log messages to show easily. So CDP offer all this low-level control, which WebDriver doesn't offer that. So that's why you see that some of the features show up as the Chromium only features, because they need to use CDP in order to do so. And a little bit history of Chrome CDP. CDP is not developed for testing purpose. It is developed for the Chrome DevTools to control, to help you debug your web page. So CDP actually contains the information about the breakpoint management, how you set the breakpoints, and how all your network request messages as well. So CDP actually do more than testing. And the next question is, how can we improve cross-browser automations? Because as you see, CDP and WebDriver, each of them have a certain limitations and certain benefit. So this is the list of a comparison. For example, WebDriver actually have really best support, cross-browser support for all the different browser. And the API is built for testing. So the API is easy to use and is really ergonomic. On the other hand, CDP is only limited to Chromium-based browser. It is complex because it contains more function, more features than what you need for testing. It is intended to build for DevTools. But the good point about CDP is that it has fast connections. It supports bi-directional messaging with WebSockets. Compared to WebDriver, is slightly slower because it's using HTTP base to perform server-client connections. And when you need to subscribe to certain event, it is using polling model, which will slow things down. And because CDP also provide low-level control, like we mentioned just now, and WebDriver BiDi is not able to do things like simulate locations or get your console.log messages because it's only support high-level controls. If you just take all the benefits of WebDriver and CDP, and for CDP, we remove because CDP is built for Chromium only. But what we like the CDP part is the bi-directional messaging support. So by combining WebDriver and the BiDi features in the CDP, that's what the WebDriver BiDi project is. It is a new standard browser automation protocol. So in a summary, WebDriver BiDi is a project aims to provide you the best cross-browser support, which will be fast because it will support bi-directional messaging, and it will support async await features as well. And it will provide low-level controls for you to have fine-grained control of your on your test operations. And it will provide you an ergonomic API, just like WebDriver. And because we introduced this WebDriver BiDi for testing purpose. Please note that this WebDriver BiDi project, this initiative is still a work in progress. And it is part of the Open W3C standard, which means this project received contributions from different browsers vendor and different testing vendor. For example, Apple, Browser Stack, Google, Microsoft, Mozilla, and Source Labs. All of them contribute to the WebDriver BiDi project. And at some point you might ask, what does a new protocol means? What do we mean by we introduce a new protocol? By meaning a new protocol is actually means that it's involve a specification process. So we'll need the team actually write down the specifications on how the protocol should work, and it will have a request for comments a process. So if you want to read the specifications, it is you can go to this link to read about that. And part of the protocol process, which means that once we create the specifications, we need a step to verify that. So what we do is we have open source a set of cross-browser tests for each of the browsers to be able to specify and test the implementation using the same test, so that when the new protocol introduced, we have confidence that this step and this way of automations will work across the browser. So there's a set of cross-browser tests in place to test that. And the last part is, once we have set what we want to verify, the last part is about the implementations. So this test, if you click on this website contains a dashboard on the status on each of the browser. What are the implementation status of each of the browsers on WebDriver BiDi? So you can see that how many tests that have passed, how many tests that is not yet passed, and all the browser is working on implementing the WebDriver BiDi protocols. And as I mentioned, WebDriver BiDi project is a work in progress. So what you can do if you want to follow the project, want to know like what is the project milestone, what is the project status now, you can go to this link here, WebDriver BiDi milestone, to track the progress of the overall WebDriver BiDi initiative. At this point, you might be wondering, nice, there is a new protocol to make things fast for us, but why should I care about it? Because the work is done by the browsers, and for the automation library, there is probably nothing I can contribute as a developer or as a test engineer. So, but as a test engineer and the people who do the actual automation, who write tests to do the automation, we should be care about the testing experience, the DevX and the ecosystem. And it takes time for the WebDriver BiDi, for the team to work on the WebDriver BiDi protocol. And it also takes time for your favorite testing tools to adopt and help you better at your work. So if your favorite testing tools knows that you are interested in this project, they might be prioritize them and implement the WebDriver BiDi protocol quicker. So the way that you can help is to express your interest and tweet about it and talk about it, so that your favorite testing tool can adopt this protocol quicker to help you to test better, test faster. Okay, that's all about my talk today. I have covered about the Chrome DevTools Recorder. You can go to this link to learn more. And I've covered about the WebDriver BiDi project. And if you want to learn more about that, you can go to this link, go.girl/webdriver-BiDi project to learn more about the WebDriver BiDi. And if you have any questions, you can go to Twitter, find me on Twitter, and go to the Chrome DevTools Twitter as well. That's all. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Jecelyn. That was really wonderful session, and it was really insightful. There are a couple of questions that we can quickly take.
Okay. Is there a headless features to execute these features from the CLI or from a CI/CD? Yes, that's what the Puppeteer Replay library is for. So if you install the Puppeteer Replay library, you can use that because that serves as a CLI, and then you can run it as part of your CI/CD process. Use the Puppeteer Replay library for that. Can I see a result report once the run is completed? Unfortunately, there is currently no result reports in the after you execute it. We only will tell you. So from the screen, you can see that when each of the step is green color, which means it's executed successfully, and if it's failed, it will show an error message on the screen. It doesn't really produce a report itself. But if you think that this feature is important, go click on the send feedback link in the recorder panel and send us the feedback, and I will make sure that I put your feedback into our list. And yeah.
Cool. Thank you very much. And for everyone's information, LambdaTest is working with on integration. We are working very closely with Jecelyn on integration with for Chrome DevTools Recorder. So very soon, put the exportation and Puppeteer file on LambdaTest platform. So I'm also looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to
Thank you,
that too.
Jecelyn, for session, and
Thank
yep,
you.
have a good day, everyone. Bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.